Hey, beautiful souls, are you a student on the cusp of your counselling journey? Or maybe even a seasoned professional working for somebody else but dreaming of launching your very own private practice? If so, I would love for you to join my incredible coaching membership today. It's tailor-made for therapists just like you, offering step-by-step support 24/7 because you know what, we're in this together. Plus, I've even got courses and CPD trainings included to help fuel your growth. I know, I love it so much and I hope you do too. Discover the path to your dream private practice your way. Dive into the supportive community and get some quick guidance, accountability, and real connections. It's your business and I've got your back. So join me now and make your dreams a reality. Head over to my website today. The link is in the show notes and the membership is called Private Practice 101. I'll see you there. Bye. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. This is the first podcast for counsellors that just don't align with the traditional approaches to business and that want to use their spiritual gifts, talents, and interests to create, you guessed it, a private practice with soul. So look, leave it to me to provide you with everything you need, including strategies that you can use to increase your income, reduce your workload, and of course, increase inquiries and referrals to your beautiful soul-led private practice. I love it so much. If you haven't done it already, grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and good morning. It's Saturday, 11th of November, 2023, and oh my gosh, wasn't it a hot day in Melbourne yesterday? I had so much fun. I took the day off and I went to the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. And it was so interesting. Interesting in an unexpected way. Because let me just say, when I went there, part of me, I don't know, I just had this experience. It was different. I go every single year. It's just something I love to do. I look forward to the day and I get really excited about it. And I was yesterday as well. But when I got there yesterday, I don't know. It was kind of like there was an energy in the space, I guess, where I just kept thinking in my mind, oh, there's a whole lot of seekers here. And that's not even something I would normally say to myself, but it just felt to me like there were a lot of people there that were looking for answers, that were looking for healing, that were, just, I don't know, it just felt to me like it was a space yesterday that was very heavy with the energy of, I don't know, people in need. Not that that was a bad thing or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there was a heaviness about the place yesterday. But anyway, I love, 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 love to go there. I know sometimes if you're like me and you go every year, it can feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. You see some of the same stalls all the time, don't you? But I love to see what's new and stuff like that. And also one of the things that I really love to do is I tell myself, trust your intuition, Brooklyn, and just see what you feel called to today. And get this. I went and now I'm just telling you this because the Mind Body Spirit Festival is still on today and tomorrow for those of you who are in Melbourne, Australia. So that's why I'm recording this episode very early this morning in case you want to get and see this guy. Right when you first walk in, there's an aisle, and if you stay walking down the first aisle, it's only a few stalls down, you'll see a whole lot of readers. Readers being fortune tellers, psychic readers, oracle card readers, tarot readers, all of that sort of jazz. Now, they're all together in this one sort of space, and I think there's maybe about 6 or 8 of them. And anyway, I was walking past and then I saw this gentleman out the corner of my eye and I just knew I needed to talk to him. He was wearing a black shirt and he had a malachite stone on cord. It was what do they called it? Is it a cabochon? The cabochon was a cord that was made of, well, yeah, that waxy cotton. But anyway, he had that. He had a black shirt, and there was so many readers, but for some reason I felt drawn to this particular person, and I didn't go there yesterday with the intention of having a psychic reading or anything like that. In fact, I walked up to the lady who was coordinating it all and I said, yes, I wanted to make an appointment to see this particular person, and his name was David. And his name was David Walsh, Walsh. So there you go. You can stop listening right now and you can get in your car and drive straight up to Melbourne. It's at the Exhibition Centre. It is free entry, okay? So if you're looking for something to do today, might be a good idea. You can turn off this podcast, jump in your car and then hit play and listen to the rest as you drive in. But anyway, so she says, oh, yes, you can see him. And she makes me a card, and I have to give this card to David. And I was kind of like shy. I don't know why, but I kind of got really shy. And I went up to him and I said, hi, my name's Brooklyn. And he said, yep, great, sure, take a seat. Now, sorry if you can hear squeaking, it's Buddy. He's got his favourite toy. It's a Kong sort of teddy. It's got a squeaker in it. So anyway, Buddy's just had breakfast and he's full of beans at the moment. So, right. So anyway, I go and I introduce myself. I take a seat. Straight away, he's like, welcome, I want to give you this thing. He gives me it's still in my bra. He gives me a piece of fluorite. It was, so fluorite, for those of you who don't know, kind of looks like that green bottle glass that washes up on the seashore. It's faded though. It's not a dark, well, the piece I got was not a dark green. It was like a light green, and it has like a very pale purple sort of swish through it. Anyway, so he gave me a piece of fluorite and he said, this is for me to take home. I said, okay, great. And then he asked me, he started shuffling some cards. He had a few different decks of cards. He started shuffling the cards. And it was asking me, what did I want to get out of the session? What did I want to get out of the reading? And I was telling him, I've got this block around this thing and da-da-da-da. And he said, yep, no problem. And he goes, show me your hands, the back of your hands. So I'm showing him the back of my hands. And he starts telling me stuff. And it was so weird because the stuff that he was telling me was, he goes, all right, I'll just tell you what happened, all right, and then I'll get on with the show. But this is for people who are into this sort of stuff. But anyway, he says to me, he's touching my right hand, which I find out later is for the feminine and the left hand is for the masculine. He tells me on my right hand, he's sort of saying that he sees faces and he sees images and everything along the top of your knuckles, which I thought was super interesting. But anyway, he says, your mother's father is here. And he starts talking to me, and then I interrupt him and I say, well, which one? Which one? And he says, he goes, well, he's telling me he's your mother's father. And I go, yeah, but which one? So it's a complicated family tree, let me just say. And then he says, well, he's insisting that it's her father. I'm like, okay. So he just kept repeating that. And then he said to me, they're showing me a man called Victor from Bold and the Beautiful. They're showing me the Bold and the Beautiful. Do you know that show, Brooklyn? I said, yes, I do. And they said, oh, do you know the character called Victor? And I said, oh, yes. And he goes, yeah, so they're showing me this face and he's describing Victor's face and all this. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't picture anybody that looks like that in my family. And anyway, so then he just sort of continues on and he's like, I could see this, I can see that. He tells me a bit of numerology. He says he can see an 8 over on my left hand, my middle knuckle, but mostly he can see a 9 around me. And he tells me, he goes, oh, wow, you're really smart. He said, you're really, really smart. He said he's done more than 1,200 readings. And in that time, he's only had 12 9s come through. And so I was the 13th 9. And so he said, it's really rare. And he was telling me about work, and he was telling me, oh, that love is here. Love is just around the corner. And I'm like, no, 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 thank you. He's like, don't be so closed off to love. I'm like, yeah, it's not that I'm closed off to it, but I'm closed off to it. I said, I work from home. I care for my mum. I have a brand new puppy. I said, maybe the puppy is the love. He goes, no, it's not a puppy, it's a fella. I was like, no, I don't believe you. And then at different times throughout the session, even Pa, my mother's father, I used to call him Pa, even Pa was apparently in on it, saying, yeah, love's coming. And this true love apparently is energetically connected to me already. I may or may not have already met him, I guess. But he said, yeah, he's the one and all this. I was like, scoff, not me, you're not me. I've had my Zsa Zsa Gabor years, married and divorced multiple times, not interested anymore. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But and I'm quite happy without being in a relationship, if I'm entirely honest with you. And plus, I don't think I have, honestly, I don't have space for a relationship in my life at the moment. I said to him, and he goes, but Brooklyn, this is your true love and it's coming whether you like it or not. I said, I believe my true love is here and it's my dog. So I'm convinced it's Buddy. I love my dog. Let's call it that. Anyway. So it was really, really interesting. As I came away from, he told me stuff about work that there was going to be a change of direction. I thought, oh, geez, what a surprise, Brooklyn having a change of direction with work. But yes, there's going to be a little bit of a change of direction with work, but it's going to result in deeper alignment, which I'm all about. And it's going to, he said that I'm not going to have any issues with money. He gave predictions for the next couple of months, which was around this person coming into my life. Oh, that's right. He was like, oh, well, with your dog, you must be taking him to dog parks and stuff like that. I go, yeah, I take him to dog parks. Said he goes to doggy daycare. He goes to the vet and he's going to school the week after next. And he was like, yeah, well, maybe you're going to meet this guy through the dog. I was like, oh, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. It's kind of like, make sure you wear deodorant and you clean undies anytime you go out with the dog. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I was walking away from the reading, blown away by what this guy had said, because a lot of what he had shared with me, there wasn't any way he could have known. I mean, he didn't have time to Google my family tree. He didn't have time to, he didn't know me from Adam, none of this. Yet he was receiving messages. It is so weird. I believe in this stuff, but I've never had it really happen for me apart from one time, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So I really find it very hard to find a medium that's, I don't know, what do you say, a medium that actually does it. Like, I saw one in Dalesford and she was a total charlatan. She was telling me all this stuff about Gabe and it just wasn't true. I just know that wasn't true, and she was telling me stuff about my past and people who crossed over, but I don't really know anyone who's crossed over. Anyway, apart from Gabe, that is my old dog. So but she was way off track. But this guy, I was with him for 15 minutes. It cost me $60, which, led me to think about something else as well, by the way, which I'll share with you also in a moment. But, I rang Mum and I said, oh my gosh, I just had this reading and it was so amazing. Sorry, I'm just moving a cushion because Buddy's decided to try and chew it. So I'm just swapping that for a teddy. Oh. There you go. You have Ted. Good boy. And she was blown away by the insights that David Walsh, the reader, had as well. And then I was saying to her, Pa came through and da-da-da. And David was telling me he kind of looks like this guy, Victor of Bold and Beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I kept walking around thinking about, so I was walking around the festival thinking about all this that had happened. And I realised in my family, along the maternal line, so my mum's line, it's German. And nearly all the men were called different versions of 3 names. So they were all called either Gordon Victor, Victor Gordon, Adolf Victor, Victor Adolf, like this. And then I said to Mum, I called her back and I said, hey, he wasn't saying that Pa looked like Victor from Bold and the Beautiful. I think it was Victor trying to convey to David who he was by giving David an image of something that David would know the name of, i.e. Victor. So I think it was Victor that came through. And I said, so I don't know which grandparent or great Victor it was. And she said, no, it was my father, because my father's name was Victor Gordon and his father name was also Victor Gordon. And her father was referred to as Little Vic, and he didn't like that. So he swapped his names around to be Gordon Victor, but his actual name was Victor. So he was trying to communicate the whole time that it was my mum's dad, Victor. Oh my gosh, my poor Pa, he must have been sitting there in sheer and utter frustration at both myself and David Walsh for not figuring this out, because it seems so obvious now. But anyway, the point of the matter is, it gave me a lot of, well, I want to say kind of comfort to know that it's legit, to know that, all this stuff that I believe and that I go on about, it's just nice to have these affirmations from time to time that it's true and it's real. And I loved it. And the whole point of me going and booking that reading was I felt called to sit with this guy. I don't know why. I just felt called to sit with this guy, David Walsh, and ask him for guidance around a problem that I was having. I didn't really get the guidance around the problem. I don't think that was what he felt I needed at the time, and so I got all this other stuff instead, which is probably exactly what I needed, to know that I wasn't alone, to know that I could call on people who crossed for support, and to know that you're never alone. And it kind of on the drive home I was thinking about it a lot, and I was thinking about how we have all the universal laws, and one law that I really, really, really always believe in is this law of non-separation, or in Buddhism, I learned it as the law of oneness. But in the spiritual world, when you learn about the Hermetic principles and stuff like that, you learn about it as the law of non-separation. But that's that, we're all one, right? We're all made of the same fabric, i.e. we all come from source. We will all return to source, whether you call it source or God or love or something like that, okay? So having that just really helped me feel a little bit more grounded. And then later that night, last night, I was sitting down and I just felt the need to journal because I wanted to share with you. Well, first off, I do want to share with you. That's not true. What happened was, well, I do, but what happened was, I just felt the need to journal and write things down. So I wrote down a whole bunch of things. And this morning I woke up and I thought, I want to share them with you this morning under the heading of how to solve a problem, because there are traditional problem-solving ways, but today we're going to talk about the Brooklyn problem-solving way, because maybe it's going to help you. I don't know. I'm sure it's going to help somebody. I'm sure it's going to help somebody who needs to get out of their own way, maybe needs to get out of their head a little bit. And I'll give you the background. I have had a particular problem recur in my life for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years. This one particular situation, or a variation on it, happens annually at different times, but it happens every single year, and it throws me for a loop. It triggers trauma responses in me. It triggers flight behavior. I'm not a fighter, but I will avoid things. I'll avoid doing things. I'll put my head in the sand. I don't want to, right? It's definitely flight. It's avoidance. It's shutting down. It's that turtle going back into the shell for protection. All those kinds of things. And I want to share with you what came through with my journaling yesterday, and I'm going to make it into a worksheet, so, or possibly even a workbook, so that, I mean, now I've done it, I don't think I'm going to need it, but while it's fresh in my mind, I want to write it all down, because who knows? Of course, I'm going to have problems in my business in the future, like we all do. When we're in private practice, we are entrepreneurs, right? And entrepreneurs are risk takers. They can't avoid risk. You can't be risk averse if you're running a business. You have to take risks, and some of them are going to pay off and some of them just aren't. But also there are going to be challenges in the business. Nobody gets a smooth ride. Like it doesn't happen. You could have the $1 million business if you want, but the ride's going to be bumpy, just as bumpy as it is for the person who's just starting out their practice. There are going to be bumps along the way, and unless you have a process in place that supports you, you can spin and spiral like I was. So I'm going to write this out as a worksheet, for a reminder for myself for when I get into a challenging situation in my business next, but also for you. And yeah, I'll make it like a workbook so that you can actually process things. So the first thing that it came up for me was, how many times has this happened? And I thought this was really interesting to reflect and to realize, well, it's happening, probably once a year for the last, 3, 4, or 5 years, but it's happened a number of times. And then I remembered about how, the universe gives you lessons, and it will continue to give you lessons until you learn it. And then you don't need to have that lesson anymore, right? So I thought maybe because this keeps happening, I just haven't evolved yet to the point of having learned the lesson. So what is the lesson? So that was the first thing that I wrote in my journal. I said, what lesson do I need to learn in order to progress to the next level and start seeing the results that I desire and that are already destined for me? Right? And by that, I mean, and you can use that, you can write that down as well if you like for a journal prompt. What lesson do I need to know in order to progress to the next level and start receiving the results of the outcomes that I desire and that's destined for me? Now, I just want to break that down. When I say progress to the next level, what I mean is that I believe that you keep getting the lesson thrown at you until you learn it. So because learning that lesson is the universe's way of getting you to do what's required of you in order for you to have what you want. Does that make sense? The universe is saying, okay, you want more clients, or okay, you want more inquiries, or okay, you want a new team member, or okay, you want more money in your business. That's fine. But, here's this lesson that you've got to learn and process so that you can have more inquiries, more clients, more, all the things. Sorry, just picking up Buddy's toy. So that needs to happen. The lesson is actually a requirement. The lesson is a requirement for you to grow. Okay, the lesson feels uncomfortable because it is. You are being cracked open. The pain of this lesson is the growing pain, if you like. The pain of the lesson is the growing pain, and that's something to recognize. And when you understand that, everything else starts to feel a little bit easier. So it can feel really, really difficult when you're in the throes of a challenging situation with the business. Maybe something's happened, maybe there's been a conflict, maybe there's been disagreement, maybe there's a money issue. But if you look back, this happens. It's not the first time that it's happened. And you're upset, you're triggered, you're emotional about it, all those kinds of things. Look for, what do I need to learn? Like, what is this trying to teach me so that then I can have the things that I want, because the universe can't give you the things that you're wanting or desiring until you've learned this lesson and unlocked that. Okay. And remember that whatever you desire is also destined for you, right? It comes from source, that inspiration. So don't be afraid. This is only a lesson. That's all it is. And it's not personal. Like, the thing that is coming up as the lesson is for you. So it's personal in that way. But it's really about your growth in your business. Okay. The second thing that I wrote down was, how does the version of me that's seeking this result or this outcome respond to these situations when they arise? This is an important question to ask, because it helps shift your world, helps shift your mind away from, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me again? When will this stop happening to me? It gets you out of victim mode. It gets you out of to me consciousness, and it shifts you into by me consciousness. So by me consciousness is when you say, okay, how was I responsible for this? What did I do? What didn't I do? What did I forget to do? All those kinds of things. It gets you into a state of mind where you're back in control. And straight away, by you being back in control, you calm your nervous system down, and you calm all that chaotic stuff that's happening on the inside right down. So ask yourself that question. How does the version of me that gets this result or gets this outcome, this thing that you want, how does she respond to these situations when they arise? Okay. And take it deeper. Ask yourself, what does she think? What are her beliefs? What actions does she take? How does she feel emotionally in these situations when they arise? What about her emotional intelligence? How do others see her, right? And then also think about, what spiritual laws does she start intentionally applying? Like, is she applying law of correspondence? Is she applying law of oneness? Is she applying law of vibration? Is she applying law of synchronicity? Is she applying law of compensation? Is she applying law of flow? Like, what laws is she being intentional about now? Okay. What laws has she been intentional about now? What does that actually look like for her? So is she reflecting on those laws and reflecting about, how are these laws working around this situation, and what does she need to do? Also ask, what does it look like when she uses a growth mindset? Right? So when she's looking to say, what can I learn? How can I change? How am I expanding? How is this situation being gifted to me? It's a gift, although it feels like pain and torment and all those sorts of things. It's a gift. So what is the present here? What is the gift? How does that version of her regulate her nervous system? How does she keep herself grounded? What else have I got? Does she use tools to help her see things when she can't because she's spiraling? So, for me, definitely using cards. Now, my favorite cards to use when I have a problem or a challenge are the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. The artwork is by Lily Moses. I'm just reading that off the cover now because I've got them out in front of me. But these are cards that I draw strength from when I am having a challenge, that always seem to give me the right guidance and the right advice. So it's called the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. It's just an amazing, powerful deck, very, very intuitive. When I drew the card that came through for me was Kuan Yin, care and compassion. It says, choose to be love, do what is right for everyone involved, and offer a helping hand. And then that's just what's written on the card. But then the actual description goes into a lot more, to the point where it felt wild that it was the card that I pulled. It couldn't have been closer to the truth of what I needed in that moment to help bring me back. And I couldn't have seen that if I didn't use the card. I just would have still been stuck in my head trying to figure everything out, still spiraling on the inside, doing all of those things. So definitely using a tool. For me, it's cards. For you, it could be something else. But for me, it's usually a card. I need that, fresh perspective. I need that fresh set of eyes. I need that fresh insight, because I know when I'm in my head, I spin and I can't see the forest for the trees. So that's the value of using cards for me. And that's the deck that I use. When I was at the festival yesterday, there was a book stall. If you want to go and check it out, it's probably 3/4 of the way across. So if you're standing at the front, if you're standing at the entrance, the entrance is on the left. So please go to the right. It's about 3/4 of the way across to the right of the hall, and it's probably about halfway down. But you'll see a stall there with books and cards and things like that. And I did purchase yesterday the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle, Soul Guidance from the Wild Divine, the Velvet Goddess edition by Alana Fairchild. It's in a great big, I'd say it's close to A4. It's pretty big, purple cardboard box with gold writing and gold font, and there's a big gold embellishment on the front. But the card interpretation book that comes with it is like a book in itself. It's like not a little book that you get with standard oracle cards. This is like a book you would put on your bookshelf. So I felt called to buy that yesterday because of this card that I pulled. Anyway, so I can't wait to play with them. I took them out of the box and they've reminded me very much of, just the imagery, because I haven't read the book yet, but I was sorting and shuffling the cards, and they reminded me very much of Tibet and Nepal when I went to Everest. When I trekked Everest, it was really, really beautiful because I happened to be there. There's Buddhist temples all the way up as you go, and you can go and you can chant with the Buddhists and everything. It's really beautiful. But when I was there was a great big meeting, a congregation of lamas from all different countries in Southeast Asia, and I was fortunate enough to be blessed there, and it was just so powerful. And I can remember sitting and chanting with them, but the faces of the people in Nepal look like the faces of the Kuan Yin that's on this card. And also this card is full of imagery like woolly yaks and stuff like that I saw when I was on the trek. So kind of felt very familiar to me in that sense, the imagery. It made sense. It was like, oh yes, this is Tibetan, this is Buddhist, but I know it's kind of not. But anyway, I felt a connection with the cards, which is why I bought them. And the other thing that I liked about that particular stall at the Mind Body Spirit Festival too was that they had a lot of the decks open, so you could have a look at them and have a bit of a play around with them, which was amazing. Okay, something else, just in terms of problem solving, do you feel like now might be a good time for you to speak to someone like this guy that I found, this David Walsh, I was going to say diamond in the rough, but he's not, a unicorn, somebody who actually does have a gift. Would it be helpful for you to connect with somebody like that? Like, is that what your soul's needing? Is that, the comfort or the assurance that you're seeking? Also, something else is asking, what does this version of you do to manifest a favourable outcome for herself and others that's in everybody's highest good? Now, that's a really powerful one because it gets you into problem solving mode, but in a way that still feels compassionate, still feels caring, still feels aligned, but takes a sting out of a tricky situation for you. So something like that can be really, really wonderful. Other things, does she consult with her doctor? Does she see her nutritionist? Does she go and see her kinesiologist? What supports does she have in place around her, and how does she access them? How does she remind herself that she even has those supports? How does she update certain aspects of her business to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Does she do a loving kindness meditation? So now I'm just brainstorming all the things I've ever done that have helped me solve problems. So a loving kindness meditation I learnt when I was studying Buddhism as well. They call it loving kindness, but out here in the non-Buddhist world, it's referred to as a metta meditation. And it's very, very powerful. And there are plenty that you can go and listen to online. You can listen to them on YouTube. The other one that you might want to work with that's also very powerful is the Ho'oponopono prayer. So I'm going to see if I can remember now. Look, I don't drink coffee anymore and it's very early in the morning, but I think it's something like, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me. There's 2 more lines. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's only 5 lines like that. And you just say it like a chant over and over. Is that something? And then does she remind herself that whatever she's putting her attention onto is going to grow and expand and she's going to see more of? And, where is she putting her attention at the moment, and what effect is that having on her and the situation? Where could she put her attention instead, and how might that create a different outcome? Something else, does she do EFT tapping? Like, tapping works. So I started a qualification in tapping years ago. I never finished it because I just got sidetracked and waylaid. But and I just got, for me, like having to remember the order of where you're tapping, I don't know. But it works. It works. And there's science behind tapping. So yeah, definitely. Does she do tapping, or does she need to do tapping? Does she want to do tapping? Does she want to go and connect with someone who can give her a tapping session and maybe record it so that she can always go back to it? Does she journal? And if so, what journal prompts does she use to help unlock growth and to help unlock insight and to help unlock fresh perspective and answers and transformation? And how does she measure her growth? Right? How does she know when this issue has been resolved? Not just the 3D issue of whatever is going on in the business, but in the broader spiritual sense. Like, how does she know when the lesson's been learned? How does she know that this lesson is learned, it's complete, and now she can move forward, and now she's unlocked abundance, or now she's unlocked opportunity, or now she's unlocked outcomes, or experiences, or all the things that she's wanting. Yeah. And how does she shift her frequency? How does she shift her vibration? So, is it like, I'm a big believer in moving as a way to shift the body and shift the vibration. So I really do believe in moving, and I really do believe in like just moving intuitively to the beat of a song or something like that. Or walking or running, or I don't know, something. But for me, I know that when I'm standing still, that energy is just kind of stagnant in my body, and I kind of want to get rid of it. So it's going to be about moving. So they're the things that came out of this whole experience I had with this guy yesterday. So having that meeting with him yesterday really made me realize I'm a small speck in the ocean. I'm connected to everything that's here in on the planet, but also extends beyond. Right? We're all connected, and having that understanding really, really helped me. And then as the day progressed, more and more insights came through, as you've just heard. So they're all a bit of a mess in my little journal. And as I said, I will put this together as a little worksheet or even a little workbook, so that you've got different ways of solving problems when they arise in your business, because I don't want you to feel like, why is this happening to me again? This always happens. I want you to get off that hamster wheel. I've been on it, as I said, I don't know, maybe it'll be 3 years, maybe it'll be 5 years, I don't know, but I've been on the hamster wheel, and it's not nice, and it's time to get off the hamster wheel or the merry-go-round, whatever. It's time to get off. And if that's you, and there's been an unwanted thing that keeps looping in your business. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's like you hire a new team member, and then just when they get to a point of competence, after you've trained them in your practices style, and they're competent in that way, they leave. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe you've got an experience of clients who you have really profound, deep relationships with, and then they just kind of ghost you. Or maybe I don't know. It's some kind of block or challenge that you keep coming up against. There's a saying, and I think it's from the Bible, but don't quote me, because for all the study I've done on all different types of belief systems, I've never read the Bible. I know, I'm so sorry about that, but I understand that there's something in the Bible that says, they'll throw, not they, it will be like Jesus, I guess, is going to throw a pebble and then the rock and then the boulder. That's what I understand, but there's a similar saying in spirituality. We say that throw the pebble, the rock, and the boulder. I was thinking about this last night because I shared it with a friend of mine. I was sharing, oh yeah, I was reflecting on this today, because she was sharing about a problem she was having, and I said, yeah, I was remembering about, this idea of, the universe is going to throw you the problem as a pebble, then a rock, then a boulder. But then later on, I was thinking, I'm pretty sure that that's something in Christianity as well, because I picked that up when I was walking the Camino. And they use when you walk the Camino, so the Camino de Santiago is the Pilgrim's Trail. There are many different paths that you can take. I've done it twice, I think 2 or 3 times. You walk from France to Spain. I know, I'm just being so casual about it, aren't I? Yeah, you just walk from France to Spain. Actually, it takes weeks to do, and it's a really grueling walk. But that's the whole point of it. So the point of it is that the pilgrims use this walk, and they would go by themselves, and they would use this time to shed and release and forgive themselves and have compassion and, reflect and atone for sins and do all of that. But the thing is, like, you start the walk and you've got the recommended 10 kilos in your backpack, which, by the way, isn't very much. But, it's 10 kilos. But by the time you end the walk, you've got nothing in your backpack. Maybe you've got a pair of jocks and some Band-Aids. That's it. Because you've released so much stuff along the way. Like, you just start getting rid of things. I got rid of, I had a couple of pairs of shoes. I had my hiking boots to hiking during the day, but then I had a pair of flip-flops for, the evening, just walking around, and then I had a pair of like something else. I ended up like everywhere you stop along the Camino for rests and, accommodation and stuff like that, they have little baskets where you can leave things and you can take things if you want as well. So maybe you need a t-shirt, and you can check this basket, and if there's a t-shirt in there that will fit you, you're welcome to take that. And it's just part of the Camino culture. Like, it's this whole no one owns anything, you all share stuff. If you've got something that you don't need or you no longer need, you leave it for the next person who may need it. So I left my walking sticks, all those kinds of things. So by the time that you get to Santiago, you really have nothing, but you feel like you've got everything. It's really such a paradox. I don't even know how to describe it. You have no physical possessions, or if you do, they're very, 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 very few. But you feel like you've got everything that you need. You just feel so complete. You just feel so thankful and grateful, and you feel abundant even though there's an absence of physical possession. I don't even know how to describe this. If you've walked the Camino, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so they use the idea on the Camino of like your backpack representing your life, and you discard things along the way, physically, but also in terms of metaphorically or spiritually or emotionally, you're letting go of things. It's a really beautiful thing to do. If you're somebody who really likes to walk, you don't need to be a hiker or long distance. You don't need to do any training or anything like that. But if you just like walking, It's safe to do the Camino alone, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's always better to do it with another person. Just because sometimes you can take a wrong turn here or there, and I wouldn't want you to feel like lost or anything like that. I mean, lots of women do it by themselves, but I would just, personally, I think it's probably safer to, as a woman, maybe just go with somebody else. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic, aren't I? So this whole episode is around different ways to solve a problem when it happens in the business, and this approach that I've shared is going to work for people like us that understand it's not only the things that we're experiencing in the world around us, that it's bigger than us, right? It's bigger than us, whether it's, you're asking to be shown by God, by the Holy Spirit, by the divine, by source, by universe, what angels, whatever language you want to use. We're all kind of talking about pretty similar things here. And I just wanted to share it with you so that, as I said, you can get off that merry-go-round and you can more quickly accelerate the success of your business, the results that you're seeing, the outcomes that you're getting, and maybe even your income. So it was my absolute pleasure to share this episode with you today. As I said, I will put together a worksheet and a workbook. If you're in Private Practice 101, I will gift them to you. So you will see them splashing around the internet, I'm sure. Please don't buy it. If you're in that membership, I will give it to you just as a gift with love. If you're not in the group and you don't want to be in the group, that's totally fine as well. You'll be able to purchase it. You can grab it from the Etsy store, which is called Hey Therapist. But it's not up here yet because I haven't made it yet. But you'll know when it's up. Anyway, have a wonderful, 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 wonderful Saturday. I hope this was an interesting call for you today. And I hope that it was also powerful and helpful and useful. And please download it and save it for when you are in a pickle and you need something. Okay? All right. Have a wonderful Saturday. Bye. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. This is the first podcast for counsellors that just don't align with the traditional approaches to business and that want to use their spiritual gifts, talents, and interests to create, you guessed it, a private practice with soul. So look, leave it to me to provide you with everything you need, including strategies that you can use to increase your income, reduce your workload, and of course, increase inquiries and referrals to your beautiful soul-led private practice. I love it so much. If you haven't done it already, grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's begin.